I'm still alive, and about a year and a half ago, I got my driver's license. And one thing that's always bothered me is that if you looked at this channel, you would not know it. I made a video before and after my first day of work. I made a video before and after graduating, turning 18, even a random trip to Atlanta, but I never once mentioned getting my driver's license. In fairness, I was only a few months into Brothers Murphy at the time, but a lot of interesting stuff happened the day I got my license, and so today I'm going to tell the year-and-a-half-old story of when I got my driver's license. So to start with, I was terrified to drive. My brother Nate never really had any apprehension about it, but for me, I was the exact opposite. The idea of operating a death machine while a ton of random strangers also operated death machines, all of us just one slight rotation of the hands away from killing each other. I didn't know these random people on the road, why should I trust my life to them? It took me a long time to get past this fear, and eventually I just had to start doing it. I was still trying to jump through all these mental hoops to convince both myself and my parents that I didn't even need to learn to drive. I think at one point I said that we should advocate for better public transportation instead of paying for driver's ed. But the thing that allowed me to push through my terror was going to my happy place, our yearly trips to Disneyland. Now this might sound silly, but the thing that got me to finally start driving was thinking that if I learned, I could drive to Disneyland whenever I wanted. On our trips to Disneyland, we always listened to the Beach Boys and the soundtrack from Cars. And my favorite song on that soundtrack was always Life is a Highway. It was perfect for encouraging me to drive, so I buckled down, pun intended, thought of that motto, and began driver's ed. Over the course of my lessons, I steadily got less nervous. That being said, in my second lesson, I made a wrong turn, ended up heading straight for a golf tournament, so me and a bunch of other cars had to be redirected by a police officer. I still blame that one on my instructor for having me drive so close to the tournament. In my third lesson, I got a bloody nose as I returned home, which was quite the sight for my parents. I never fully got over my fear of driving, but I certainly was much more comfortable. Then, before I knew it, on Black Friday 2023, it was the day of my driving test. We got on the road to the DMV, and my instructor told me that once we got there, we would go out and drive and he would administer the test. But I didn't really believe him. Why would we drive to the DMV, then administer the test? I assumed that he would just start the test midway through so that I just took it at a random time and didn't psych myself out. But that's my secret, Captain. I'm always nervous, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. My suspicions were confirmed later on when he started to have me take some random detours. Eventually, we got to the DMV, parked, and he asked me if I was ready to take my driving test. So I was honest with him, and I just said, "You already gave it to me, didn't you?" He cast his eyes downward, looked kind of disappointed, and then told me that I was the first person he had ever tested who had figured that out. And I didn't say this, but I was thinking, really? It was kind of obvious. But regardless, he had told me that I had passed, and we went into the DMV to get my license. About a half hour later, all the paperwork was sorted, and we started to head home. This was my very first drive with a license. It was a big moment, and just as we left, the instructor turned on the radio. And I swear this is true, but when he turned on the radio, Life is a Highway started to play. It was one of the craziest coincidences that has ever happened to me, and it really calmed my fear of driving going forward. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and Nate, I'll see you tomorrow.